So at this point the patient is done with treatment. You will see triple zeros in yellow appear at the top of the machine, letting you know that it is done and it is time to initiate rinse back for your patient, which gives them their blood back. You'll hear this ding as a secondary alarm to let you know that it's done. You just hit the stop button on the machine. It will display 277 milliliters, which is the amount of fluid to be given back to the patient. Once that is done, you go over and untape your patient, which you can do, a little bit beforehand if you want to kind of prep for it, or you can just wait until it's time. It's up to you. We want the arterial line first. We're going to clamp and undo that end and hand it to the patient. Then we're going to take the arterial line and put it on the red arterial line. And I know this is a little darker over here, but here's my red line. I'm going to take my saline off, put my red line on, and unclamp both of those red clamps on that line. Then I'm going to hit the add water button, which is going to send saline out of the bag back into the patient's lines. I also take my saline syringe, insert it onto the end here, unclip. I'm going to put that into the arterial line. I pull back a little bit, give it a few thumps to get the air bubbles loose, and then feed that back into the patient line. So now we are waiting on the numbers on the screen here to go all the way down to 0. It is giving that out of the saline bag, which I'll show you kind of what I was doing over here a little closer. So we're waiting on this number to go down to 0, and right here is the red line. We just took it up to here, and now this connection looked like how this has a saline line hooked on it on the blue line. That's the one we're using next, but basically I just took the saline that was on this line and gave it to the patient over there and hooked that line up. So now it's taking the saline from the bag and running it through that line, and this is backwards from what you saw at the beginning. They're pushing the saline all the way through. You can still see some pink here. You can still see there's some remnants of her blood here in the top of the header of the dialyzer. And you can see here that it's all clear, and there's our 0. So now we're done giving a rinse back to the patient. Clamp both of these lines and disconnect my blue venous line, hand the other end to the patient. Now once again I'm walking over and I'm disconnecting that saline line, and now I can turn off my machine. The patient is now completely disconnected from my NxStage machine, so I don't need it on anymore. So it can stop beeping at me. So I hook this up to the venous line now, unclamp, pull back to get some blood mixture in there, and then push that back to the patient, giving them a nice mixture of the saline and the blood solution. So now she's completely disconnected from the machine. We just have to get her untaped. Remove the bandage from the top, or the venous port first. That's the one with the bandage on it. That goes away. Then our V-shaped butterfly tape goes next. And then I hold with this hand while I use my thumb and index finger to kind of pull this free. And this hand keeps it from moving too much on the patient. Then you're going to take one of your sponges. You're going to fold it in half and then fold it in half again. Then we're going to take it and put it right here on top. Place it at the site, but do not apply pressure. Then I take my line, 3, 2, 1, and apply pressure until the patient can take over. And take your needle. These particular ones are the tulip kind, so they have a guard that slides over the needle. And then our waistband for these is right over here. So sometimes when you pull the needle, you'll see a little bit of bleediness, and you'll just take one of your alcohol swabs before it really has a chance to dry on the skin, because then it's a little harder for it to get off. You just go ahead and dab that off, cleaning the side a little bit. Now she's got to hold that for about 5 minutes. So we're going to cut here and we'll join you again for the rest of this here in just a moment. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes. She's ready to get bandaged up there, so we're going to take a piece of tape, turn it upside down, get another sponge here, fold this one in half, put it on our piece of tape, flip her over, and switch them out. Just like so. Now, put another piece of tape above to seal the top edge, and one more piece of tape below to seal the bottom edge. And that side is done, and you move straight on to the second side. So we're going to remove, once again, the bandaged piece of tape that's on top first. Then we're going to take our butterfly, the V-shape piece of tape, off second. And then last, we'll take the one that's on the butterfly itself. Once again, I'm just using my index finger and kind of holding it in place with the other one and gradually sliding this off, and then hold it in place with the other hand, and then just kind of pull back against my index finger. Alright. Then I take a sponge, and the same thing that we did with the venous, we're now doing with the arterial. So you fold it twice, double it twice when you pull it out. 3, 2, 1. The patient takes over. I leave my needle pointing downwards so no blood spray goes up in the air, and that goes in my waistband. And now once again she's got to wait 5 minutes for that to clot enough for us to switch the bandage out. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Okay, so our patient has waited the 5 minutes. So we have made our piece of tape again with our sponge ready to go. Fold it in half on it, flip it over, and do the old Indiana Jones switcheroo. And then another piece of tape for the top edge. And a piece of tape for the bottom edge.
Thank you.
And after that, the patient is taped up. They are ready to go. They can take their standing blood pressure and seated blood pressure, and then they'll go take their final weight to make sure that the amount of fluid that we took off looks about right. And that's about it as far as the patient is concerned. And that's it. Your patient is off dialysis and good to go. Thank you guys for watching. Again, leave any comments or questions for us. If you've got any, if you use this same system, we'd love to hear from you, and your tips and tricks on how to use this thing. We can share them amongst the community of people that need stuff like this, and hopefully improve everybody's experience that has to go through something like this. Thanks again for watching. See you next time. Good job.
Is it on?
Yep.
Great.